Rwandan Patriotic Front were preparing to respond.
The information very clearly came in very fast, showing how targeted killings were being carried out and how these were spreading out not only in Kigali but going beyond Kigali to other parts of the country. And we knew that was the usual style the massacres had started. And we have to take action.
The rebels declared the peace process dead and attacked the extremist government. General Kagame had gone through training at Fort Leavenworth. The U.S. military maintained contact and understood the rebel leader's intentions.
In retrospect, there was no chance, I think, that the RPF was in any mood to negotiate right from the beginning.
They wanted what?
They wanted to take control of the country. They wanted to take over control politically, militarily. There was no way you're going to stop the RPF. There was no way that they were in the mood to negotiate once this all started.
Overnight, 1,000 French and Belgian paratroopers had arrived without warning, seizing Kigali airport. These troops were not under UN command. Their mission was solely to get the expatriates out. Dozens of journalists had arrived with the new troops. They traveled with Belgian soldiers to Kigali's psychiatric hospital, where the Western staff was trapped. On the way in, they drove past the Interahamwe, waiting outside. Tutsis emerged from the hospital building, where they'd been hiding for 3 days. They said they were surrounded by the militias, that some of them had already been killed.
Depuis 3 jours, il y a déjà des cadavres là-dedans.
When it was clear the soldiers weren't going to help, the refugees appealed to the journalists.
It was a whole group of people, but in the whole group, one woman started to speak and started to explain why they were afraid and what was happening to them. And she started begging us to take her and the others with us. She was speaking to me, a woman to a woman, saying, "I'm afraid, please help me." Yeah, we were just listening to her, and then we couldn't do anything. At that moment, we thought we couldn't do anything, just listen and say yes. So we left. For the white people, it's over. Between you, the hundreds that stayed. And we heard the shooting at the moment we left. So it was clear for me that hell starts for them.
All Western troops and UN peacekeepers were under orders not to evacuate ordinary Rwandans.
What that meant was anybody that was white-skinned got to get on an airplane and fly to safety, and anybody that was black-skinned got to stay in Rwanda and get killed. And that's as simple as it came down to. It still to this day leaves a very, very bad taste in my mouth that the United States of America could have 350 Marines sitting at Bujumbura Airport, that the French were able to get in 500 or so paratroopers, that the Belgians had over 1,000 paratroopers. You know, we basically had our intervention force already on the ground. You know, what they later told us, it was impossible to get on the ground. We had it on the ground on the 10th of April, within 3 days of this thing starting. And, but it wasn't there to intervene. It wasn't there to save Rwandans. It was there to save white people. And that's what it came down to.
With the airport taking fire, the American embassy decided to evacuate its staff and expatriates overland in convoys south to Burundi, where U.S. Marines were waiting.
And there were people standing on either side of the road. And it's my recollection that I saw some instruments like machetes in their hands. And I remember thinking, well, they're just waiting for us to get out of here. before they go on about their gruesome business.
I was working for the American embassy, basically. I saw them leaving. I saw the flags and the vehicles. I know all the vehicles, I know all the peoples they belong to, and so on. So I said, okay. I think it was sad, surprising to see that by the end of the day, you are a person who has to die, when other people are allowed to be alive. This is a strange feeling. Americans were allowed to be alive. My neighbors were allowed to be alive. They were walking on the street, they were going to the market. And we were here feeling that we had to die anyway.
As she organized the last American convoy, Laura Lane made a final attempt to do what she thought was right.
We had a convoy of over 100 vehicles with over 600 people, only 9 Americans. Greg and I were the last 2. The ambassador was at the front. And yes, there were Rwandans in there. There were Tutsis in there, and in some cases there were Hutus. And so if they made it to our checkpoints and we could hide them, we did. Some of them were, we dubbed them Americans for the day. You know what I mean? We made them honorary Americans so that they could be in the convoy.
If people in Rwanda ever needed help, now was the time. And everybody's leaving.
Carl Wilkins had